And if you stick to the end, I'm going to be showing you a super useful resource that I wish I had found years ago. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Daniel and I'm an ex-doctor currently pursuing software engineering. So before we get into this video, I just kind of wanted to express a bit of gratitude and kind of like tell you how surprised I was when I was seeing how much engagement I got on my last video. I honestly wasn't expecting that much engagement in the form of like hot takes and opinions and like people telling me, yeah, go do it. And then other people were like, no, it's a terrible decision. You know, despite all the negativity, I found it to be so like I felt like I wasn't alone anymore, and it has really motivated me to continue making, you know, more videos documenting this journey. And honestly, I was expecting just to upload it and like come back with like nobody watching or nobody caring, but that turned out to be quite different. And so today's video, I just wanted to have a sit down with you guys and kind of explain what exactly is my plan in terms of what languages I'm trying to learn and where am I learning it from, and like what's the overall roadmap for my journey, especially in these end times when it comes to software engineering and AI taking your job and like layoffs and like all kind of craziness. What is my plan? Let's dive right in. So a brief background into my coding journey. I'm actually not entirely a beginner. I have had some exposure to HTML and CSS before I started medical school, and it got a little bit too crazy. In that time, I probably got discouraged because I realized all the websites that I made with HTML and CSS just look really bad. They look really bad, and so I just kind of like left it at that point. It wasn't until last year, October, so in October 2023, I decided to pick up back coding, and that was before I even decided to pursue software engineering. I kind of wanted to be a cool kid, you know. Coding seemed cool at the time, and I mean, to be honest, it still is for me. But yeah, so even at that time, I just finished my internship as a doctor, and you know, I decided to take a little break. And so from October to like December, I was learning coding. And then the meantime job that I had started in January, because I realized the amount of time I was spending, you know, working as a doctor was pretty crazy and erratic to the point where I could not dedicate enough time. So I thought, let me, you know, take a little pay cut and take on a meantime job that, you know, would give me a regular 9 to 5 like schedule with like weekends guaranteed, and see what happens from there. And although I did get, you know, that time, you know, that regular time blocked out for coding, realistically by the end of those type of like jobs, it's like you're still just as drained, just as tired. And that occurred for the next up to the present day. So from October to now, what month is it? June. So from October to June, I have been, you know, coding on the side in my free times, a little hour there, you know, sometimes none on a day, and like another hour or two, and then, you know, I'd put much more time during the weekends. If you count the number of months from October to June, that will be 9 months, right? I have been coding on the side for 9 months. And am I a pro? That's debatable. I only managed to, you know, get through HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and I've only recently hit React, and it's not even like that deep into React. I literally just learned like the basic syntax and how it goes. And so I mean, 9 months on front end, all of the programming that deals with what users see, I would think that's probably bad, you know. But understandable since I was just doing it part-time. The reason I'm telling you all of this is just because I've decided I'm going to quit my meantime job. It's a job that pays enough to survive, and it's a job that I could easily get back if I wanted to. And so I'm taking another plunge here and actually quitting so that I can focus full time on coding. I'm basically going to be living off of my savings, which is not a lot. It's just enough to like get by. So I'll probably have to decline, going out and spending money and all of those other things. But I feel like it's going to be worth it. And by going full time, I can finish, get my grasp in 3 to 6 months versus like a year and more if I continue down the path that I am right now. And so that's what I'm going to do. So my goal personally is to secure some sort of tech job by this year. And I know that's crazy because I don't have a CS degree, I don't have a technical background. I only know front end, so that's basic like website design and like how to style things to look better. I don't have much, database skills or backend or APIs or, we're gonna see. We're gonna see how that goes. I've actually applied to some jobs, even though I don't have the qualifications. Like, there's some things on the job description that are like just questionable to me, but I was like, I'm just gonna apply anyway. What do I have to lose? They might see a crazy resume show up with someone with a medical degree, but you never know what's gonna happen. So just send that resume. That's my tip for y'all. Just send that resume because you never know. To secure a tech job by the end of the year, I realized that I might have to be a full stack software engineer. And what does that mean? It means that I know how to do front end, create what people see and interact with, whether that's like a website or an app's design, as well as backend. So know how to gather data from that website and maybe store it somewhere and like have it be able to be retrieved later on and show different things. So like, for example, for like a to-do app to receive to-dos from people using your front-end web app and then store it somewhere and have it display and be able to maintain it there even after a refresh. So like stuff like that, or even like the ability to sign in and then save all of that information to your account. So nowadays you really have to know how to do front end and back end and then connect the two. That's just because that's just how the landscape is right now. Like especially with front end development, like if you're just dealing with the user facing side, I feel like that market is very saturated. I feel like most of the jobs have to deal with back end, so like database, data, servers, and like managing the side that users don't see. And to be honest, that's kind of boring to me, but if that's what it takes to get a job, sign me up. And when it comes to my method of study, there are basically 3 paths that you can take. The first path is the traditional path, where you go to a university for probably 2 to 4 years and get your computer science degree, and like from then on you could, I think even then with a computer science degree you might not be able to, fully be ready, and at the same time you're spending 2 to 4 more years and it's pretty costly. And this isn't to say not to go get your degree. I mean, if you're just starting out and you're on that journey, I'd say go ahead and get the degree, right? Because it definitely does look good on your resume, and it probably gives you a leg up over people without a degree, even though it's kind of leveling out. But like, just because you have the degree, you kind of do look a little bit more enticing to recruiters. But in my case, I couldn't go back to a 4-year college degree just because I've already spent 7 or 8 years of my life studying to become a doctor. And so time is definitely not on my side. So I kind of want it to be a little faster. And if I wanted to do it a little faster, I could consider going to a boot camp, right? 3 to 6 months boot camp, and bam, you are a full stack software engineer. The only drawback with boot camps is the fact that they cost a lot, right? They still cost quite a bit of money, with the promise of coming out prepared to face the world of job hunting and software engineering. But at the same time, the pace of it I believe could burn people out, and you might not even pass your boot camp just because of the workload. For me, however, I'm not going to be choosing neither a college degree or a boot camp. I'm going to go through the self-taught, self-paced courses route. And that's just because, one, it is much cheaper. I'll talk about the resources later in the video, but like I'm paying monthly for some online courses, and also it's self-paced, so I can definitely learn on my own timing. And I know self-paced and self-taught is not going to be for everyone, just because it takes a lot of discipline, and you honestly really need to get yourself together, or you will be on this self-taught, self-paced journey for a long time. And when I say self-taught and self-paced, it's going to be a mixture of free and paid resources, just because as much as I advocate for free education, and I'm realizing now that the information definitely is out there and there's a lot of free resources, I do believe in investing in your education and investing in the time and effort it took somebody else to kind of lay out the whole workflow and roadmap for you. And so that's what I'm going to be doing, a set of free resources as well as some paid resources to supplement it. And yeah, that is going to be my plan. Another great thing about paid resources is most of them do come with two things that you don't get if you're just doing it for free, right? And one of them is the community aspect of it. And so a little bit later, I'll be talking about some of the specific resources that I'm using. But basically, most of them, they do have a Discord community, a whole like community of people that are also taking the course, and you can basically interact with them and find people that are doing similar things, and you can, network with them, talk to them, become friends with them. And I've actually become friends with some people, and we talk about code, and that's really amazing to be able to have like that level of connection while coding, so that you don't feel like you're isolated. We even video call sometimes, and it's pretty amazing because I don't have much, sadly I don't have much people around me that code, and those that do just seem to always be busy, and so it's been a struggle. And then the second thing that paid resources usually give you is some level of certification at the end. So although it might not matter as much, to be honest, having a certification from a reputable educational institution online is a plus in my book. So I'm currently taking 5 learning resources, and that's Codecademy, FreeCodeCamp, Zero to Mastery, Udemy, as well as Scrimba. And you might be telling yourself, why, Daniel? Why do you have 5 resources? Isn't it a little bit convoluted, and isn't it like the same thing? And aren't you stretching yourself a little bit too thin and not making progress on any? All of those points are valid. But I think the reason I have all of those is because, it all started with Codecademy, and I really loved Codecademy for the way it introduced topics to you, because I don't know why I thought Codecademy was video based, but it's not. It's mostly like text based on the side, and then you have your IDE, or like your coding environment, on the right, and you're doing everything mostly on their site. And I like that because it gave you all of the information that you needed from a very basic level, like what's the syntax, and and then there's little exercises afterwards, and then you can test your code to see if it's correct. And then after Codecademy, I decided to see FreeCodeCamp, right? Because it was free, right? I actually began with FreeCodeCamp, and I realized I don't really think it's for beginners, even though it says it's for beginners. And that's because it seems to like it's beginner like, but also not, because it kind of tells you, oh, do this and do that, and like it never taught you the syntax. So it's like, for example, there was an exercise where I had to like add a link to this HTML or like add an image, right? And it was like, just add the image, or just use a link tag. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? What is a link tag? How does the image work? It doesn't really tell you any of that. And so when I went to Codecademy after, it taught me all of that. And then when I went back to FreeCodeCamp, I finally understood it, and I did the exercises much more easier because I had that foundation, right? And then later on, I realized, Codecademy and FreeCodeCamp, they're very text heavy, right? And sometimes you're stuck, right? You're stuck and you're wondering, how do I get through this exercise? And that's when I realized that I'm mostly a visual person, right? I much rather see something in action, and like, in the form of videos or little graphics. And Codecademy and FreeCodeCamp didn't really have that. And so I stumbled upon a resource called Zero to Mastery, and that has been quite useful. It's mostly video based, so you're not going to be coding on their platform, but the instructors are great. There is like a bajillion courses you could learn, like from almost every language, and they also have career paths as well. I added that to my repertoire later on, and then realized that there were some parts like ZTM. What I like about it is it does prioritize practical information. It does prioritize practical knowledge, and sometimes as a result, it might go through some concepts a little bit too fast and maybe a little bit incomplete in my opinion. And so I decided to try Udemy from a recommendation from one of my coding peers on Zero to Mastery, actually, on their Discord channel. I was telling him how difficult I found like DOM manipulation in JavaScript. It just seems so wrong, right? And he was like, yeah, he felt the same way, and he recommends to get this Udemy course from Dr. Angela Yu. And I was skeptical at first. I was like, do I really need a fourth course? But I decided to take the plunge, and it wasn't too expensive. I mean, normally Udemy courses are like $100 and something, but they go on sale like every second, to be honest. And it got to a point where it was like $18, and I was like, sure, why not? And I was blown away. It was a really good course, and like it taught things, or it mentioned stuff that the others didn't. And like I was like, okay, so I'm learning something new. I'm bridging some holes in my knowledge. And it was just a one-time purchase. So that's what's good about Udemy, is like it's a one-time purchase. The only drawback is, you might buy more courses than you actually finish. But yeah, it was a good $18 that I spent. And then the last resource that I added to my repertoire is Scrimba. And I am totally in love with Scrimba. This is not an ad, but I believe Scrimba solves one of the main problems of like learning, especially learning to code, and that is like solving the problem of tutorial hell. So if you don't know what tutorial hell is, it's basically you watching someone do something more than you're actually doing it. And that is one of the main problems of video-based learning like Udemy and as well as Zero to Mastery, is that you're not really, you're seeing someone do it, but then the fact that you have to move away from that browser tab to go to your own code editor and try to like emulate what they're doing, and then like you forgot how to do it, so you have to go back and rewind it, and then like watch it again and like do it. It's like you're watching more than you're actually thinking, right? And so what Scrimba does is it merges video-based learning with a coding environment all in one. So like it's really magic. I'm not sure how to explain it, but I feel like it's the future. So imagine your instructor, right? And it appears that you're playing a video because there's play and pause buttons. And so you play the video, and it the instructor's there with his coding environment teaching you the concepts. And then all of a sudden he decides to tell you to do this coding challenge in the video, and you expect to go somewhere else to do it. No, all you have to do is either double click the video, and now that coding environment is yours, and you can type onto it and run the code and whatever. And when you're finished with it, like let's say you finished the task, or you're stuck and you can't continue, all you have to do is just press play again, and the whole interface goes back to the instructor's one. So like whatever you wrote is gone, and then the instructor ones comes back, and he completes the task, and like you say, oh, okay, that's how he did it. And then what you can do after that is go back to where you were, because like the player has like a little dot where it says that you made an edit or something, and you click that and you go back to where you were stuck and you do it, right? You actually go onto the thing and you type the code and you run it, and you're like, oh my god, it works now. And then you go back to the video where the instructor left off and he continues it, and you finish the exercise. That ability to do both the instruction and the application in one, that is the future. And that's what I'm currently mostly on. I'm mostly on Scrimba and ZTM, just because ZTM, it kind of distills what you need to know, and it's in a video form. So in a way, I'm kind of like, when I'm lazy, I guess when I'm lazy and I don't want to like do too much coding, I'll just supplement it with just videos and like seeing how people do it. And then in Scrimba, I can actually go and implement it. The only drawback with Scrimba is it currently doesn't have back-end courses, so it's mostly just front-end, and they have a new one with AI. But I'm pretty sure it's going to grow, and when it does grow, it's going to become crazy. And it's not even that expensive. It's like, what, $30 a month or something? That's great. That's a pretty good deal. So this is Roadmap.sh, and this is what I wish I had when I was starting to code 9 months ago. And and this is a really great way for you to have a roadmap in all kinds of areas of tech. So as you can see, there's front end, back end, DevOps, full stack, AI, data scientist, data analyst, Android, iOS, even databases like Postgres, SQL, cybersecurity, UX design, and so much more. And this is a great way if you don't want to pay for courses, or at least you want an idea about it before you decide to drop the coin. So for example, if I go into the full stack path, you'll notice that it gives you a pretty good overview of full stack software engineering. And now that I can look back at it after already like going through the struggle myself and going through the different like paid courses and seeing their outlines, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, to be honest. So for example, here you start off with HTML, CSS, and then you JavaScript, then you do npm, you learn about Git and GitHub, and then like you reach Tailwind CSS and React, right? So I'm kind of somewhere here, right? I'm in this weird place between front end and back end. And notice here it says for React, it says feel free to skip and revisit after learning some back end. So that is wildly good advice, considering that I thought I had to learn this before I go to the back end, right? And so if I had knew this before, I wouldn't have been like, oh, stay here and so this is great. And see, as you see, it gives you like the main objectives, like the HTML, the CSS, JavaScript. It also gives you projects that they think you should be able to do by the time you reach here, right? And that's great. And what's cool is this isn't just a surface level like overview. You can actually click on each of these, and it starts to give you resources, and these resources are quite good. Like, I've honestly thought like, oh, maybe I didn't have to pay for all these courses, but this is great. It's usually a combination of like maybe some YouTube videos, some web page articles, and even like different sites. So like not even just JavaScript. See, it gives you all of this information, articles, and it's actually updated, because the last time I checked this, it wasn't as nice looking as it is right now. And then even the projects have like, for example, this checkpoint, you should learn to make, a blog design or websites and, stuff like that. And it's great. Like, this is awesome. This is a really good resource. And so I definitely recommend checking this out if you are considering learning programming and you're not sure if you want to, invest any money towards it. This is really good. And so if I go back, right, it even has articles about what you should learn depending on what kind of course you want to go through, and that is simply amazing. Like, definitely recommend Roadmap.sh if you're looking into starting your career in tech. I'm definitely going to be using it myself, and yeah, now you know. Alright guys, so that is the end of the video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this roadmap. Do you think I'm missing something? Do you think I should focus on something else? Let me know down in the comments. And until next time, I'll catch you later.